This is you. Okay? That's sin. It never comes off. No matter what you do, that sin cannot come off. That's more sin. If you stand before God, even if you do righteous actions, you are still a dirty rag in his presence. There's dirt. Doesn't matter how much righteous you try to do. Once you've done these sins, you are forever marked. And so how does this stand before God? Jesus comes in the same form as us. Although he was in the form of God, he showed equality with God was not a thing to be grasped, emptying himself out and coming in the form of a servant. So Jesus came just like us, but guess what? No marks on him. None. And he went to the cross to bear your sin so that he can represent you. And so if I stand before the Father, he stands in front of me. When the Father looks at me, who does he see? His Son. I'm back here, but I'm behind him. I'm covered in Christ. So my Father in heaven sees him. And so this guy, after knowing Jesus, and he falls, and he gets back up, and he's still, man, he looks worse. And then you know what? He just, oh man, that was that terrible thing he did. Who's standing before the Father? Notice how I'm still this on my own, but because I'm clothed in Christ, and he's there, the spotless, perfect, righteous Lamb. The guy behind him is crap. He's crap. This is the ark. Noah didn't swim through the flood. He got inside the ark. Jacob didn't somehow become the right son in front of his father. He dressed up as his brother Esau. You see this being clothed in something. Adam and Eve fall in the garden. They try to clothe themselves by their own works, creating fig leaves. God had to cover them in the skin of an animal. Cain presented the works of his own hand. Abel presented the lamb. So you can go before God and you could try to come before him in your own fig leaves that you cover up your sin with. You could try to go before God and present your own works like Cain did. Or you could be clothed in the lamb and let the lamb be your present. That's justification. That's how you are saved. This guy, you don't want to stand before God because no matter how good you try to do, this is what you still look like. But Mike, I live a righteous life and I try to be obedient and I try to help people. This is what you look like. Because I'm going to just say this right now. We don't seem, for some reason, when it comes to God's justice, we act stupid, but we all understand real justice. If I was on a warrant for murder, let's say I committed murder 40 years ago, and there's a warrant out for my arrest, but I'm hiding in another country. And let's say I finally get caught 40 years later, and I stand before the judge and I say to him, Your Honor, over the last 40 years, listen, I know I'm guilty I'm wanted for murder. But did you know over the last 40 years, I have helped build 3 schools, I feed the homeless, and I take care of foster children. Does the judge care? Does any of that erase that I have committed a crime, that I was wanted for the crime, and I am being convicted of the crime? Does any of it matter? No. And so as a sinner, it doesn't matter what I've done good. If you go stand before the righteous judge, you are guilty. Gavel down. I need to stand behind him. I need the greatest lawyer ever, the greatest advocate ever, the one who can stand between us both and place his hand on both and say, I am in his place. The only one who can stand in my place and stand and represent me is someone holy and righteous whom the Father looks at and says, this is my son, with whom I am well pleased. Look how Job recognizes what we need. Truly I know that it is so, but how can a man be in the right before God? Job was known as a righteous man, and even he recognized, how can I do that? He said, if one wished to contend with him, one could not answer him once in 1,000 times. You can't stand there and contend with God. You can't plead your case. You can't stand before him. For he is not a man as I am, that I might answer him, that we should come to trial together. There is no arbiter between us who might lay his hand on us both. Jump with me to Matthew 17. A voice from the cloud said, this is my beloved son with whom I am well pleased. The Father puts his hand on the Son. When the disciples heard this, they fell on their faces and were terrified, but Jesus came and touched them. Rise and have no fear. The Father looks at Jesus and is pleased, and he can lay his hand on us and say, have no fear. This is why 1 John chapter 2 says what? My little children, I'm writing these things to you so that you may not sin, but if anyone does sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ, the righteous. Advocate, mediator, arbiter, same language. Over and over and over again. You need someone in between, or else you can't stand before him.